Thank you for listening to this lecture. As with many lectures and workshops I've attended as a teacher, I usually find one thing, one nugget of information I can take away that I can use. Hopefully today you'll find a nugget or two to take home as well. As we begin, I would like you to think about this. If tomorrow your doctor told you in 6 months you would have a heart attack and die, what would you change? What if you knew a year from now you would die of cancer? Would you make changes to your diet if you knew it would help? Americans suffer from a host of chronic diseases. The top 3 causes of death in America are from chronic disease. The sad thing is, in most cases, they are preventable and reversible. We all at some point in our lives have admitted this in some way, maybe not consciously. In your 20s, you think you're invincible. In your 30s, you expect to add a few pounds and maybe relax into a way of life. In your 40s, you're busy with your teenage kids. The last thing you think about is yourself and your health. Your health gets put on the back burner as the waistline increases, and you move the belt a few more notches. This is a powerful video that I'd like to share with you.
What will your last 10 years look like? Will you be quick enough for a game of tag with your grandchild? Strong enough to embrace every moment? Will you grow old with vitality? Or get old with disease? It's time to decide. The average Canadian will spend their last 10 years in sickness. Change your future at makehealthlast.ca.
We are living longer, but we're living those last years in poor health, requiring more and more costly prescription drugs to manage our chronic diseases. I've seen my parents age and pass, working into their 80s because they didn't account for the medications they had to take because of chronic disease. I hoped for myself a different path. A chronic disease is a disease lasting 3 months or more by the definition of the U.S. National Center for Health Statistics. Chronic diseases generally cannot be prevented by vaccines or cured by medication, nor do they just disappear. Chronic diseases are labeled as pre-existing conditions. 1 in 2 Americans have pre-existing conditions. I'm not trying to be political here, just stating information. Retirees who are more likely to have chronic disease, it will cost them. People on a fixed income like my parents will have to continue working just to afford their prescriptions. These are the major chronic diseases. They are caused first and foremost by inflammation in the body. How that inflammation manifests itself in your body can differ from person to person. For me, it was heart disease. Someone else, it might be cancer, diabetes, or arthritis. And guys, just for the record, the first signs you may have blockages in your arteries is if you have ED, erectile dysfunction. It is the proverbial canary in the coal mine. The blood vessels are smaller down there, so you see the results there before you will ever have a heart attack or stroke. Chronic diseases affect approximately 133 million Americans, and 81 million having multiple conditions. The thing is, with chronic conditions, once you have one disease, you are more likely to get more. You can see by this chart that those in blue, it's a small portion of individuals, and they only have one condition. The majority have 5 or more conditions. These chronic conditions don't happen overnight. It begins from the day you consume your first taste of foods. It takes years and decades till your body tells you that it's had enough. This is consistent among all groups of Americans, across all socioeconomic groups. It doesn't discriminate. Rich or poor, black or white, we all get chronic diseases. Chronic diseases are on the rise in America. We've had an increase of over 31 million people since 1995 with chronic disease. It is an epidemic of disease. I am a survivor of chronic disease. I like to say thriver in spite of chronic disease. I'm going to share how I healed myself from my chronic disease. I'm coming up on my anniversary here. Back in 2008, just walking in my yard, I felt some back pain between my shoulder blades. I breathed a little deep and hoped it would pass, and then I got chest pain as well. I breathed a little deeper, tried to stretch it out, and then I got nausea, and it took me to the ground. I laid in the grass, hoping it would subside, and it did. A few minutes later, I went into the house and Googled back pain, chest pain, nausea. And everything that popped up on my screen said heart attack. So I called my doctor, and my doctor said, get to the hospital as soon as you can. So I went to the hospital, and I was living down near Ithaca, New York, a small hospital, Memorial Day weekend. They hooked me up to a bunch of monitors, and we were just chit-chatting when all the doctors and nurses came rushing in. And they said, we have to get you out of here. And I go, why? They said, because I'm having a heart attack. And they said their cardiac team wasn't here on the weekend since it was a holiday weekend. So they rushed me up to Syracuse and took me into emergency surgery. 45 minutes later, I was out with a new piece of hardware in my heart, a stent. I had a stent put in my lower anterior descending artery. That's called the Widowmaker. I call it the Widowmaker because 90% of the people that have a heart attack there don't survive. It controls, the LAD controls a large portion of your heart. And if you lose that, your heart has a hard time functioning. In fact, a month after I had mine, Tim Russert, the newscaster, had a heart attack in the same place and died, even though his doctor gave him a stress test 2 weeks before and gave him an all clear. My stent is about the size of 2 grains of rice. The stent doesn't get rid of the plaque, it just opens the passage. If you don't change your habits, the artery will just fill with plaque again. It's amazing how small an artery is and how it can cause so many problems. Heart disease is mainly caused by inflammation in our arteries in the form of plaques. They have found streaky deposits of fat in children's arteries as young as 10 years of age. It is safe to say everyone who eats the standard American diet has coronary heart disease. It just hasn't been diagnosed yet. When you get a stent, they place you on a battery of pills: a blood thinner to prevent clots, a statin to lower your cholesterol, a drug to lower blood pressure, and an ACE inhibitor to hopefully prevent future heart attacks. Oh, also a daily aspirin. I thought, these are pills for someone in their 70s. What is the long-term effects for someone in their 40s? I was never diagnosed with high blood pressure or high cholesterol. This is a list of benefits over side effects for statins, one of the drugs they put you on. You can see the benefits: lower blood pressure, prevents clots, supposed to lower cholesterol, and prevents angina. You might get memory loss, dizziness, tired feeling, confusion, nightmares, trouble sleeping, diarrhea, mild itching or rash, hypertension, chest pain, hyperlipemia, difficulty swallowing, fast or irregular heartbeat, difficulty with moving, dry mouth, and all these, and all these. In fact, these last 2 pages were the last statin they put me on, Crestor, and they're the side effects for Crestor. My statin drugs almost killed me. The first one they put me on caused plantar fasciitis. The second one they put me on caused my toes to splay like somebody was spreading them apart. And the third one, by the end of a summer using it, I had to get up and down stairs with a hiking pole and get in and out of the car with help because it caused generalized muscle weakness throughout. My doctor said that a lot of the pharmaceutical companies say that it's about 10% of the population that's statin sensitive. He felt that it was much higher. Prescription drugs for chronic diseases treat the symptoms, they don't cure the condition. Through research and lectures I've listened to, this was the bellwether statement that caused me to think differently about my course of health. These drugs were not going to cure my condition, just manage symptoms till the disease progressed to a worse prognosis. Is that all there was? A slow, steady decline to the end? Taking pills with known side effects that might be worse than the disease itself. When I first had my heart attack, I found this book, Dr. Esselstyn, cardiac surgeon at the famed Cleveland Heart Clinic. He said to reverse the disease of my arteries, I should give up dairy, cheese, meat, and eggs. I thought, this is too extreme. Everything in moderation became my mantra. So I followed the American Heart Association diet, but only stricter. We moved to a small 8-acre farm, raised our own chickens, grew our own food. I skipped red meat even though the American Heart Association said I could have lean cuts a few times a month. The American Heart Association said I could have 4 eggs a week. I had 2 from our own chickens in an omelet on Saturdays. A year later, I had a scare and was rushed from school on one of the last days in June to the hospital by ambulance. Lucky for me, the doctors didn't put any more stents in me. They said I had blockages about 60% occluded. But instead of stenting, they said they would just wait. After that scare, I began to take things seriously. Within the next 2 years, with the help of my wonderful wife, Sherry, and a great internist, we overhauled our diets and were converts to Dr. Esselstyn's advice and research. Dr. Esselstyn also says, if the truth be known, coronary artery disease is a toothless paper tiger that need never ever exist. And if it does exist, it need never ever progress. I can't help but think of friends and family members who died from coronary artery disease. It was preventable, reversible, by just eating a whole food, plant-based diet. Here's the man himself explaining.
Like a lot of women, Kintz did not experience the classic chest pain, but rather fatigue and a pain in her jaw.
He said, you're going to have open heart surgery. He says, I can fix you today. I can just take you right down to OR and I can operate on you right now. My son was in there and he was ready to wheel me down to the operating room because he was frantic. You know, it's terrifying.
What Kintz did next may surprise you. She turned the surgeon down cold, said no to open heart surgery, and decided to take a chance.
I bought some parsnips the other day. Always have sweet potatoes on hand.
Using food as medicine.
I love these. These are wonderful. So
like President Clinton, Kintz has given up the food she loves, like butter and cheese. She's betting her life on Dr. Esselstyn's diet. She had a heart attack.
Oh, yeah, I know.
You know, Sharon.
Oh, yeah.
Doctors recommended she have an intervention. She's not doing it. Is there a downside? Could she be putting herself at risk?
No. I think that's an excellent question. In hundreds of patients, data now going back over 20 years, and this most recent study about a decade, once they start eating this way, you'll make yourself heart attack proof.
Heart attack proof.
We know that if people are eating this way, they are not going to have a heart attack.
Esselstyn thinks heart disease is completely preventable, no matter what sort of family history you have, simply by eating right.
It's a foodborne illness, and we're never going to end the epidemic with stents, with bypasses, with the drugs, because none of it is treating causation of the illness.
I'm a chicken. I don't like the idea of my chest being cut open and a vein from my leg being taken out. After my heart attack, I wanted information. I wanted to know what I could do to change my course. What I want you to think about is this. Doctors can't cure chronic disease with a pill, but that doesn't mean they can't be cured. This is a picture on the left of a lower anterior descending artery with plaque and blockage. You can see marked by the yellow there where it's narrow and pinched. This was a patient of Dr. Esselstyn's. And just within 3 years of eating a whole food plant-based diet, the picture on the right is the same exact lower anterior descending artery. It looks full, it looks open, it's not blocked, it's healthy. This is what happens when you have coronary artery disease and change your diet to a whole food, plant-based diet. But this diet, called a plant-based diet, doesn't just work for heart disease. It also works for type 2 diabetes, obesity, IBS, lupus, MS, kidney disease, some forms of cancer, and autoimmune diseases. People often say, it's in my genes, it's just going to happen to me. Well, some say genetics loads the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger. Just because you have genes that may give you cancer does not mean you will get cancer. The new area of science is giving us insight into chronic disease, cancer, and how it develops in the body. You've heard of the human genome, DNA, a sampling of your genome, and they can tell you so much about you, from what color hair and skin you have to your tolerance for certain medications. It also lets you know if you have a gene that may lead to cancer. What researchers have found is that the genes don't just turn on to cause cancer. They have to be triggered, and it's triggered by the epigenome. Interesting thing about the epigenome is that it's controlled by environmental exposures and lifestyle choices, such as diet and exercise. This is what America typically eats. 3 times the amount of protein we need. Fiber is almost non-existent in the diet. Lack of fiber is one of the major causes of colon cancer and IBS in America. Recent research has also found that fiber in your colon contributes to the proper functioning of your immune system. Without fiber in your diet, your immune system is compromised. People often ask, where do I get my protein? The question should be, where do you get your fiber? You only get fiber from plants. This is what is recommended that we eat by the Harvard School of Public Health. You can see that almost 75% of it is grains, vegetables, and fruit. The medical establishment has forgotten their oaths. They seek to heal not by finding the underlying cause, but to give instant relief in the form of a pill. In their defense, doctors often tell their patients they have to lose weight, exercise more, do this and that to ward off disease. And we, with our hectic lives, don't find time for ourselves and resort to the quick fix in the form of a pill. You are the cure. So it really comes down to you. It's up to you to make the healthy choices to make your life better. I found this, I thought it was humorous. Inflammation may be harmful to your body. Your lifestyle and diet suggest that you may develop chronic inflammation, which may be harmful. Do you want to continue anyways? And dinner, cheese, fries. Okay. We've had a relationship with food since birth. No one likes to hear their diet is killing them. Your favorite foods are killing you bite by bite. I think that's the wisest thing, to prevent illness before we try to cure something. Wouldn't it be great to avoid chronic diseases before they ever happen? We can, and all it takes is to change what we eat. What is a whole food plant-based diet? It's anything that comes from a plant, fruits, vegetables, grains, and legumes. Eating whole food plant-based is the best way to prevent colon, breast, and prostate cancer. Popeye was right. Eat your spinach. It's as simple as eating your fruits and vegetables. This chart shows the rate of disease based on the consumption of plant-based foods. You can see America over on the left, high rate of disease, low rate of plant food consumption. You can go over to the other side, the higher rates of plant food consumption, the lower rates of heart disease and cancer. Whole food plant-based diet is the most researched diet proven to improve health. The largest medical insurer in the US supports a plant-based diet for their participants, Kaiser Permanente out of California. The only diet shown to improve or reverse chronic diseases such as heart disease, obesity, type 2 diabetes, etc. It is the only diet, not Weight Watchers, not Atkins, not Paleo, not Shakeology, that has peer-reviewed medical research that shows cure rates of chronic diseases. The others may help you lose weight, but they won't help you fight disease. Many people have tried various diets to no avail. Most diet programs expect you to come back. They need you to come back because they need to make money. That is their business model. Keep you coming back, buying their food, their system. Eating healthy is not complicated. It doesn't require you to buy some kind of prepared mix. Just eat the foods that contain the vitamins and minerals that feed your immune system. It feeds every cell in your body. Fruits, vegetables, grains, and legumes, they all have fiber. They contain everything you need to survive and stay healthy. Kale is king, but not just kale. Any dark leafy greens, such as spinach, Brussels sprouts, beet greens, Swiss chard, broccoli, they have isothiocyanates. It stops cancer dead in the tracks in 3 different ways. First, they don't allow carcinogens to be activated. 2, they counteract the poisonous effects of carcinogens that have been activated. And 3, they speed up their removal from the body. Isothiocyanates have been shown to be especially effective in fighting some forms of cancer. They are also packed with large amounts of calcium, iron, magnesium, zinc, potassium, B vitamins, vitamin C, and vitamin A. Dark leafy greens are higher in beta-carotene than carrots. Tomatoes are king too. 3 servings a week of cooked tomato reduces chances of prostate cancer by 40%. In fact, all fruits and vegetables are kings. Plants are where you get your vitamins and minerals from. These are the things that feed your immune system. 1/3 of all cancers are preventable by just changing your diet. I am asked this constantly. Americans eat way more protein than they need. That is what's contributing to the rise in chronic diseases. Do you know how much you need a day? The average 20-year-old man needs 56 grams, women 46 grams. Who tells you you need protein? The meat and dairy industries. Why? To sell more of their products. This is my breakfast. I get almost half of my daily protein just from eating my breakfast. Some of you might say, well, that's not the same kind of protein. Yes, you would be right. Here's a 4-ounce piece of beef. Where are the vitamins, the fiber? The only thing you get from meat is protein. Yes, some iron, saturated fat, and cholesterol, and lots of IGF-1. IGF-1? That's insulin growth factor 1, which is in all meat and dairy. Cancer loves to feed on it. And don't believe your friend who says cholesterol doesn't affect your arteries. All you have to do is look to Bob Harper. You know the guy, host trainer on The Biggest Loser. He believed that hype about cholesterol. He would put butter and coconut oil into his morning coffee. They call it bulletproof coffee. They should call it heart attack coffee. It ended with him on the operating table, his heart being shocked to bring him back from death. He says it's hereditary. He says he has lipoprotein A, something 1 in 5 people have. I'm one of those. So who's the biggest loser? Someone who refuses to believe diet can affect his health, or someone who takes charge and changes the habits that are killing them? Sorry, Bob, you can't out-exercise a bad diet. You all probably know someone who you thought was fit and healthy who dropped dead suddenly. We had a PE teacher who went for a bike ride with his son, came back, laid down on the couch, and died of a heart attack. Does this work? Well, that's me on the right, just after my heart attack. My friends at work don't remember me that large. I stopped weighing myself at 225. Since going whole food plant-based, I lost 60 pounds. I'm off all medications, even the daily aspirin. My total cholesterol is 120. The picture on the bike, I weigh what I did in high school, 165 pounds. This is Jessica Bowen. At age 29, she had stage 3 invasive breast cancer. She did the chemo and radiation to no avail, had a massive mastectomy, and the cancer was still there in her body. She began her own research and saw the documentary Forks Over Knives. If you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix, Amazon Prime, and iTunes. I highly recommend to see it. She wrote to one of my favorite whole food plant-based doctors, Dr. John McDougall, and began eating a whole food plant-based diet. She is now cancer-free and has lost over 92 pounds. This is Shannon Farrell. She lost 60 pounds and now helps others. She belongs to the largest whole food plant-based support group in the country. This is Lanny Mollerath, author of My Plant-Based Journey. On the left, she's age 48. On the right, age 63. Kitten Barbarossa, she lost 300 pounds. And Summer, she beat ulcerative colitis, lost 100 pounds, and she now runs marathons. This is my friend Tim. Tim was born with a genetic disorder called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. His joints are very loose and hypermobile. The excess weight was too much for his joints to handle, so he was cast and fitted with expensive leg braces. After losing his weight, he now runs marathons and no longer uses the braces. Josh LaJohny, the boy from the bayou, grew up on everything fried. He played football in college, and after college, he kept eating like he was still playing football. I met him this past summer. He started running, started losing weight. He began a whole food plant-based diet. He is now an ultramarathoner, finishing a 100-mile race in Florida in under 24 hours. This past December, he was selected to be on the cover of Runner's World magazine. His family combined has lost over 900 pounds. I have a teacher that's using this way of eating to halt the progression of macular degeneration, another staff member that's using it to reverse his type 2 diabetes, another to control her blood pressure and reduce her cholesterol, a teacher's using it to heal from IBS, another healing her and her daughter's autoimmune issues, a vice principal 2 weeks into this and has lost 19 pounds in an effort to halt the progression of his diabetes. Nutrition is powerful. The human body wants to thrive. Its natural state is to thrive, not just exist. Even with all the abuse taken in with poor nutrition, it still wants to live. Give nutrition a chance. You and your body won't regret it. If you suffer from any of these chronic diseases, if you are on pills for blood pressure or cholesterol or a myriad of other medications, you can throw them all away just by switching to a plant-based diet. One caveat, if you are on any of these medications and do switch to a whole food plant-based diet, you have to talk to your doctor, as eating this way naturally thins the blood, lowers blood pressure, and lowers cholesterol. And if you don't talk to your doctor and get your medications adjusted as you proceed on this diet, you could put yourself in a dire condition. So, you are your own cure. It's all in your hands, not your doctor's, not a health coach or some company's products. It's in your grocery store in the produce section. You're only one meal away from a healthier you. Step outside your comfort zone and see what true health really can give you. Thank you.